This is King Street Station in Seattle, built by the Great Northern and Northern Pacific Railroads in 1906, and currently serving as the starting point for Amtrak Train number 11, the southbound Coast Starlight, which is the train I'll be taking today. I arrived with plenty of time to spare on this fine morning and enjoyed the company of my fellow travelers before boarding commenced in earnest. The Coast Starlight, like pretty much every other long-distance Amtrak train, has both coach and sleeping car accommodations, and I opted for the latter on this trip that was scheduled to take about 35 hours, but, as we'd sooner or later find out, that time wound up being extended by a couple of hours. It was par for the course, of course, being that on-time performance isn't usually a thing with Amtrak, as they routinely fall behind schedule for one reason or another.
Train number 11, the Coast Starlight. Southbound, where our final destination is downtown Los Angeles, with stops in between. Ladies and gentlemen, you are located in the 1130 sleeper car. I am talking to this car and this car alone. My name is Mahdi. I will be taking care of this car all the way into Los Angeles. Just a little bit of information to share with everyone about the train. First and foremost, regarding the mask policy, it is no longer a mandatory policy, it is strictly optional. So if you choose to wear your mask, feel free to do so. If you choose not to wear it, feel free to do so. Again, it is totally optional, totally up to you. No longer a mandatory policy. But what is mandatory are your shoes. For your safety, your shoes must be worn at all times while walking anywhere about the train. The train does have plenty of pinch points, and a lot of them are located near the foot area, so please wear your shoes while walking anywhere about the train. Restrooms. There are 3 restrooms on the lower level and a shower room. However, there is one restroom on the upper level located near the stairwell. Also near the stairwell, you will find coffee that will be available for you. So please help yourself to a cup of coffee.
I will do that.
Now regarding all the food service cars, the dining car unfortunately is closed for breakfast at this time. We do not serve breakfast leaving out of Seattle. So the first meal period is going to be lunch today, later on this afternoon. Somebody will walk around to each room to offer lunch reservations, where you can pick the times that are available for you to go eat lunch. But other than that, for right now, they are closed for service. However, we do have a lounge cafe car, otherwise known as a sightseeing car, the lounge viewing car, the car with the big sightseeing windows, whatever you want to name it. There is a cafe in the lower level of that car, in case you want to purchase any additional snacks, such as breakfast sandwiches.
The dome car, or
muffins, cookies, candy bars,
the El Capitan,
chips,
which the Santa Fe called it. It's called the high-level lounge. The high-level cars are built by the Bud Company for the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad for the El Capitan train. The El Capitan is the name of the train, you dummy. Every rail fan knows that. You're so stupid. And the superliners have nothing to do with the high levels. They were based on the high levels, but they're not high levels.
Hamburgers, hot dogs, sodas, juice, beer, wine, liquor, all that good stuff can be found in a lounge cafe car. And the dining car is going to be 1 car ahead of us. The lounge car is going to be 2 cars ahead of us. And the only way to get from this car to the next is by staying on the upper level only. That is the only way you can get from this car to the next car is on the upper level. The lounge cafe will make opening announcements once we depart the Seattle station here.
We departed promptly at the scheduled leaving time of 9:15 a.m. and headed south, past the hideous snoot of this Talgo set used for the Cascade service, past Lumen Field and into the gritty industrial landscape south of downtown Seattle. The Coast Starlight is renowned for being one of the most scenic rides in the Amtrak system, with particularly scenic stretches through the Cascade Mountains and along the Pacific Ocean in California. 1 train per day departs each city, and at some point along the way, they pass each other in the night, or during the day. I don't know. I'm sure we passed a northbound Starlight at some point, but I wasn't really paying attention. Shame the hell on me. Now, for train buffs, such as myself, The present-day Coast Starlight is an amalgam of predecessor trains from the former Southern Pacific Railroad, such as the Starlight, Coast Daylight, Cascade, Owl, and Shasta Daylight, collectively covering roughly the same territory between Seattle and Los Angeles, and even San Diego at one point. I'll leave a link in the description for more information about the history of this route. We were only a few minutes into the trip before I decided to go check out the Sightseer Lounge, a popular gathering spot featuring large panoramic windows and swivel seats on the upper level, and a well-stocked, if overpriced, concession stand on the lower level.
So this is the Dome Car, or the Sightseer Lounge. Very festive in here.
We departed Tacoma pretty much on schedule, and so far, everything appeared to be going pretty swimmingly. And then...
Today, unfortunately, one is going right back to Seattle because it is now out of service.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
This also means Olympia is going to be a little bit of a longer stop and a little bit chaotic. There's going to be about 100 people that are going to be wanting to get on this train. Lucky for us, we have an extra car. So we're going to be putting our extra people on that car. And we will be using more seats than normal because we will be picking up that train's people as we go. So we were already a sold out train. We're going to be an even more sold out train. Also, for those of you who are hanging out in the Sightseer Lounge car down line, we might be asking you to return to your accommodations. Not yet. But it is a possibility in order for us to have enough seats for the wayward passengers who have been waiting for their train for the last 3 hours. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, in order to accommodate all of the passengers that we are picking up, and we are stopped here waiting on 2 trains to get by us. Once they do, we will continue to our next stop of Olympia.
And so it begins.
With that little hiccup aside, it was soon time for lunch, our first actual meal of the trip. So down the narrow corridor of the sleeper I went, and into the dining car, which happened to be the very next one forward. All meals in the dining car are included in the sleeping car fare, and seating for both lunch and dinner are by reservation, with passengers being given a choice of seating time. Amtrak dining car food is generally decent. I have not had a bad meal so far, but I also can't say I've had an exceptional one either. It's just decent. The selection is slim, which takes care of the paradox of choice issue, but it actually makes perfect sense. Only a few key items need to be catered, and there is limited room on board the train for storage and refrigeration. I was quite pleased to see that this train had AHA sparkling water on hand, and no, this is not sponsored. I had the Natural Angus burger, which was, well, it was a burger, albeit a tasty one. After lunch, I decided it was good enough a time as any to do a good old-fashioned loo review.
It's a train bathroom.
Alrighty, afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As long as bridges play nice, it should only be about 20 minutes to our next stop of Portland, Oregon Union Station.
Karen asked me, she wanted to look
It
at
will
my
be the
Facebook.
first fresh air stop. Also, if this is your stop, please do not make your way downstairs to any of the lower portions of your assigned cars. And that is so you can allow an employee to be down there to open the door for you. So please wait until the train has come to a complete stop at the station before making your way downstairs. So once again, our next stop is Portland, Oregon Union Station. In roughly 20 minutes, I'll make another announcement once we are closer. Thank you.
As you heard, Portland would be our first designated fresh air stop, which are protracted stops that take a longer time than just discharging and boarding passengers. During these longer stops, other duties are often performed, such as taking on additional supplies, servicing the equipment, crew reliefs, or swapping out equipment such as locomotives and adding or cutting cars. Amtrak used to call these smoke stops, but since smoking is bad and fresh air is good, at some point along the way they've started calling them fresh air stops. My recommendation is to take advantage of them whenever possible and use the opportunity to step off the train, stretch, and get some fresh air. And that is exactly what I did here in Portland, and what a nice station it is. Portland Union Station is a beautiful Romanesque revival relic built in 1896, with a wonderfully preserved 1948 era interior with lots and lots of neon. It was visually pleasing, but was also vaguely reminiscent of my high school cafeteria. a denigration to the station it is not, rather a quality undeserved to my alma mater's cafeteria. Anyway, once we got underway again, our route out of Portland took us through the east side of the city and past the Oregon Rail Heritage Center with their collection of equipment from such railroads as the Great Northern and Southern Pacific. Soon we were back in the country with country landscapes, a brief fresh air stop in Eugene, and then the scenery picked up when we started into the Cascade Mountains. Soon it was time for dinner, and back to the diner we went. Dinner is the most substantial meal of the dining car experience, and patrons are offered 3 different courses and a choice for each. I went for the mixed green salad, followed by the Amtrak signature flat iron steak, medium rare, followed by the ultimate Meyer lemon cake for dessert. Seating for all meals is community style, meaning that if you are a party of less than 4, you are likely to be paired with strangers, so to speak. So an introvert or socially awkward person's nightmare it may be, but in all honesty, it's really not that bad. Most people on board are generally pleasant, and at the very least, it's a good opportunity to work on your people skills.
I have people skills!
The ever-changing scenery out the window is always an added bonus, and makes the experience all the more enjoyable. After dinner, I retreated back to my quarters and just kind of hung out for the rest of the evening, enjoying the remaining sunlight before calling it a day. Alright, so it is now 9:07 in the PM. I should probably turn a light on because this is going to be really bad quality.
The next day.
Well, suffice it to say, I pretty much tanked at getting any overnight footage, but just take my word for it that there is something quite sublime about being rocked to sleep on a moving train as it rolls through the night. I woke up the next morning just as we were departing Sacramento, the state capital of California, and thus began day 2 of this sojourn. Alright, so day 2. It is about 7 a.m. Actually, just turned 7 o'clock at the a.m. I woke up about more than that. At 6 up, we were in Sacramento, and we left Sacramento on time at 6:48. And we are continuing to cruise south. I think the next stop is Davis. The next stop after Sacramento is Davis. We had begun to enter the Bay Area by around breakfast time and were crossing the Benito Martinez Railroad Bridge as we sat in the dining car. I had the breakfast quesadilla. Unlike lunch and dinner, breakfast is open seating, meaning reservations are not taken, but it's still community style. Passing by the Richmond BART station signified our official entry into the Bay Area, and then we made a quick stop in Emeryville before being made aware of our next deviation. So, we are in Emeryville right now.
31 car attendants, DIC, please.
It is 8:39 in the a.m., which is our scheduled leaving time from Emeryville. But something has come up. Apparently we have to go into the yard. They got to put 2 cars on the hind end of this train from a California train that just went past. And we're going to deadhead them down to LA. So that's going to take some time. They're going to do a little cut and couple, a little drill move here. Unfortunately, we cannot exit the train in the yard to witness this. I wish I could, but this process took well over an hour, and we were strictly forbidden from setting foot on the ground as per that pesky little entity known as the FRA. And even though I myself am NORAC qualified, we are about as far from NORAC territory as one can get in the lower 48. So the best I could do was just stare out the window and buff out. These relics here, for instance, currently used as fill-ins for the San Joaquin trains, started their careers in 1968 as electric multiple unit cars for the Penn Central Railroad, and later Conrail and the New Jersey Department of Transportation. They were inherited by New Jersey Transit and refurbished in the late 1980s, being converted into push-pull cars. They ran them in daily service for the next 2 decades, and a handful were later sold to Amtrak California in the mid-2010s, where they were given yet another refurbishment, transforming them from commuter cars into long-distance passenger cars. Impressive lifespan, and a testament to the way things were built back in the day. There were, of course, other pieces of equipment to buff out over before we finally made our way over to Jack London Square in Oakland. Jack London Square, we're an hour and 40 minutes late. No, hour and a half late, so this is supposed to be a fresh air and smoke stop. I mean, it's fresh air, but it's going to be very abbreviated. Like a, dot, dot, dot. It's all right.
Will be San Jose in 1 hour. 1 hour to San Jose.
San Jose is a nice station. That's an old Southern Pacific station, which they maintained at Southern Pacific.
Yeah.
And they got buses come in there.
But the real question is, do you know the way to San Jose?
Yes.
Okay. So, ow. We just had an extended stay in San Jose. We don't know the way to San Jose, apparently. Well, we did get here, but we had to swap out the engine and some other stuff, so now we have 2 cars tacked onto the hind end, and we have a new engine, or 2 engines, I think. And we're like 2 hours late now, at least. But that's just how it is. And we were on the move, and then we stopped. I thought that was a running brake test, but apparently not. So I don't know. It's hot outside. It's like 90 degrees outside. There's a Caltrain next to it. No, it's not. No. I think it's a San Joaquin. I think. I don't know. Yeah, there it is. I think I might have a drink of water. Okay. All right. The next several hours were spent traveling through the Central Valley of California, and I used the time to kind of just stare out the window, take lots of B-roll footage, contemplate life, chat with some of my fellow travelers, pretty much all standard activities for traveling at a leisurely pace. I forewent lunch today since I wasn't particularly hungry, but did take some time to check out the 2 coach cars located toward the front of the train. One was fitted with the new style fall leather seats, while the other still had the older style blue fabric seat, which in my opinion is the superior of the 2. I briefly tested one of them out, and just as I remember from a trip taken several years ago on the Capital Limited, the seats are quite comfortable and massively generous on legroom. So much so that they can add an extra row in here and there would still be a respectable amount of legroom. Not that I would condone such a thing. We were doing okay despite falling quite a bit behind schedule, but as luck would have it, a new crisis had arisen. Alright, so we just left Paso Robles about over 2 hours late. And the next stop is San Luis Obispo, and we have come to a stop, and apparently there's something janky going on with the engine. Yep. Got to make sure that we have enough traction power, I guess, to get over the mountain pass. So as the conductor said, it has been an adventure. Yeah, it has been. Alright, so a bit of an update. It is 5:09 in the PM, and we are on the move slowly, but they had to cut the HEP, which stands for head end power, which supplies power for the AC, HVAC, lights, and other power functions on the train. So in order to get enough juice to get through this mountain pass, mind you, we have 2 engines on the head end. Whatever the case may have been, we toughed it out and made it through, and before long, head end power was restored, bringing much relief in the form of air conditioning. It was also restored just in time to enjoy the stunning scenery through the mountains around San Luis Obispo. Eventually, it was time for dinner again, and this time I went for the caprese skewers appetizer, pan-roasted chicken breast, and the chocolate toffee mousse for dessert. And finally, at long last, we were now right on the edge of the Pacific Ocean at sunset time, and watching the sunset over the Pacific Ocean was, in my opinion, the best part of this trip hands down. It was worth the 2-hour delay to be able to have this opportunity. It was, in fact, the pièce de résistance, or whatever you want to call it. The icing on the cake, let's go with that. Be that as it may, we soon gathered our belongings and bid adieu to our fellow travelers as the executive decision was made to bail at Burbank, as it was now getting on in the evening and our final destination was Hollywood. It was simply easier and faster to catch a ride from Burbank than to take the extra half hour into Union Station and fight the crowds to get an Uber or Lyft. Close, but no cigar. And if this is disappointing and unacceptable to the viewer, well, hey, you made it this far, and so did we. Thanks for watching. Alright, later. Oh look, there's the Hollywood sign. See, over there. I have a view of the Hollywood sign. It's not the real Hollywood sign.